in accordance with sections 2-2-301, 2-3-202, 2-3-203, and 2-3-214 Montana Code annotated. All members of the board, staff, and public in attendance are advised that the public portions of this meeting will be recorded in both an audio and video format. Cameras and recording devices are placed throughout the meeting room to complete these recordings. Everyone in attendance is reminded to honor basic rules of decorum during the meeting and guidance associated with providing public comment as stated in policy 1420F. By remaining in the meeting, those present consent to being recorded and displayed in the footage that will be posted on the school district's website. Welcome everybody. There'll be an opportunity for community comments on non-agenda items at the end. Start with administration team reports.
Do you want to skip to the land trust transfer request right away?
Yes.
Since we have Mr. Tharp here to answer some questions. So we received a petition to transfer some money. So the way that it's set up is the land that they're requesting to petition is in the Savage High School District, and it's coded in the Sidney Elementary District. So they're wanting to, they have some students and they want, well, they attend Savage Elementary. They want to move that land to the Savage Elementary District, which I get it. In looking at how some of this stuff falls, and it doesn't have to go in this order, but I did talk to one of the gentlemen that was petitioning. It does say the Board of Trustees of the school district that would receive the territory has approved the proposed transfer by a resolution adopted by a majority of the members of the Board of Trustees at a meeting for which proper notice was given. So basically, I mean, you wouldn't have to go that route if we really wanted to just say, yeah, go ahead, we could. But it doesn't necessarily make sense for us as you start to think about, you're gonna lose about $1,200 a year in the elementary budget with the tax portion of it. So I would say you wait for them to make their motion. We can work with MTSBA after that to see what they recommend. And then we go from there. The one thing that you kind of look at a little bit with this, and I thought about this some today, and Tim, you can correct me if I'm wrong. If those students are in our district and they transfer to, technically transfer right to the Savage Elementary District, we would have to pay the tuition for them. So it would be probably more cost effective to give up the $1,200 than to pay A and B for all of those kids. Mike?
No, I think that analysis is right. Yeah, the bottom line is we've got the absolute goofiest borders and overlap of elementary and high school in different elementary district in one district, but it's high school in another, and they are just crisscross and mishmash all over the place. As I was telling the chair earlier, there's pockets of land all over the county that are different matchup. And this happens, we've got Roosevelt, everything happened across to Roosevelt and to Dawson. It's an absolute mess. This individual wanted to run for the board. He wants to serve on a school board. He wants to be part of and active in his kids' education. But his only option is to run for the Sidney School Board because his land is in the Sidney Elementary District, but even though it's in the Savage High School. And trustees are elected by the elementary district in which they live, and then they serve like in your case, you are elected to the elementary, but then you serve as a high school board as well. And so that's his rationale for wanting it. That's the only reason is so that he's able to serve on the school board and work in that. But yeah, that analysis makes a lot of sense. Might make sense to look at some of those other adjoining ones. It's easier to get rid of the land than to continue to pay for it.
Yeah, because if you take, I mean, let's say that A and B is approximately $6,000. So we'd be paying $30,000 instead of getting $1,200. So I don't know. I mean, let's see what Savage decides to do tonight. We can talk to MTSBA about how that works. And then we'll make our decision in April.
The timeline is stated in the law is that he presents a petition to the Savage, or to the board that he wants to have received. They vote by resolution if they want to do it. If they approve it, then it comes to you guys. If you accept it, then I just issue an order as county superintendent that it happens. If you guys deny it, then I hold a hearing and then consider all the different positives, negatives, and then make a decision based on that. You don't like the answer, then you can appeal that, and so forth. That's the process in law. So the first step is Savage Board's decision on it, but this individual is quite anxious and excited about the process. So he's been in contact with several of you, some of you multiple times this week.
Yeah.
So
Maybe don't tell Martha about the A and B thing. Just let them vote. guess for me, my recommendation is to wait to hear back from MTSB on how to proceed with this matter at the April meeting.
Yeah. We need to vote on it since it's-
I don't think we need to vote on that, do we? Should be good. Okay, thank you for the information too, Dr. Clark.
Sure.
Okay, principal reports or building reports, West Side, for February, keeping in mind they had, family reading night, February 5th, the first grade team held that. They do a really nice job of holding those different, events for the community, so typically have a pretty good turnout for those as well. February is also I Love to Read month. Mrs. Linder planned activities for them. I believe Mr. Barnhart got to go over there and read Green Eggs and Ham to a kindergarten classroom. Is that right, Mr. Barnhart?
That is correct, just got to act it out as well as reading.
All but one of the students ate the green eggs too, is I believe is what you said. So, and then they're also gonna they made Valentine's Day cards to be delivered with the Meals on Wheels for that program. In Central, they had their book blast. Third quarter conferences are coming up
Today.
this week, it looks like. And then they're also, parent-teacher conferences are on March 9th. Is that tonight? Sweet. And the PEAK program is going to provide supper for their staff during the conference. Amplify reading training. So that's the new reading program that we're going to. So we did one training for them now. We'll do another one sometime like late summer, so it's fresh in their minds. And then we'll bring them back in October to start to, like, after they've gotten through some lessons, they can see what's going well, what's not going well, hopefully get some more training on how to get through that. So I think we have a pretty good process for how we're getting the staff training on that. They seem to be pretty well received. Middle school, they had Science Olympiad in Bozeman. Varsity team finished, where did we finish? 8th out of 24. JV team placed 3rd out of 13 teams. There's another interesting thing here though, the 7th and 8th grade PE department took 16 students to compete in an archery tournament at the event center. They had bullseye and 3D animal targets, so I thought that was pretty neat. We've been doing archery and PE now at the middle school for 4 years, I think. Katrina got a grant and they got some compound bows for those. You can see the discipline, majors at 6, minors 126. High school.
How did that compare to last month? It looks less majors,
I think there was more.
really?
Yeah.
Never mind.
We're getting there.
We're getting there.
Yeah. As far as the high school, a lot of testing coming up. Juniors will take the ACT in March. A couple of bigger updates though, if you look at the gym roof update on page 5. The AC units, they came in, they've been installed. Do they work? And they work.
Old in the gym today.
Yeah, worked really well. We'll appreciate that around graduation time. The band wing roof, that's where we wanted Interstate Engineering to come in and do a structural inspection from where that large AC unit fell on it. There is damage there, significant enough to have to replace, it looks like that section of the roof. But it's an old roof, so at this point, maybe it was a little bit of a blessing. And then they ended up having to put a new roof hatch on the gym roof because of the damage that was done to the old one. So that got done last week, I think, as well. High school, as far as the special education report, they have 2 teachers at the high school, so a lot of this report is kind of giving you an idea of where we're at staffing wise. They have 2 teachers there. Typically we run with 3 special education teachers. Middle school we have 2. We typically run with 3 there. West Side has 3. They're in pretty good shape there, and Central has 3. They're in pretty good shape there. Unfortunately, we know of 2 sped teachers that we're not going to have back for next year, so we're gonna start like about 4 teachers behind to start with, potentially more. So, and those are not easy to fill. Last few years we've been pretty fortunate, we've only had 1 or 2. So hopefully we'll get some applicants and we'll get those positions filled.
Is that job listed already?
Yeah, that should have been listed all year.
Put a resignation in?
Yeah,
Yeah, we got
four special education teachers are listed.
No, I mean to hire somebody to replace them.
Yeah.
Is that the job's listed?
Yeah, oh yeah. Curriculum, testing, Mr. Barnhart talks a little bit about the mass testing, also talking about Atlas and moving into a vertical alignment with those, and we have a plan kind of set up for that. That'll be this Friday, half day. Him and I will meet with the Atlas lead team to explain how those vertical alignment meetings are gonna go. Sometimes those can lend themselves to some negative conversation, so we're hoping that just doing a training that we understand, like, it's not a blame game, it's just, this is how we want this to go. As far as the grants go, the notified OPI their intent to apply for the Carl Perkins next year, which should be around 25,000. We'll talk, well, that's a different grant, we'll talk about later in this. And then traffic education, they had they've completed 3 sections, 56 of the 64 students passed, so that's good. And then they've been asked to run a session by Fairview and Lambert for a spring or summer session, which would probably include another 10 Sidney students, but Mr. Barnhart has not made a decision on that as of this time. Superintendent report.
Sorry, Mr. Barnhart, I heard a rumor that you sent out a survey to staff about any of the testing. Are you ready to
Yes.
talk about any of those findings, or just still
I'm
preparing?
sorry, I missed one question on it, so I had to send out a follow-up question to it.
Okay,
So when I get that to the next board report, you'll have that, yes.
thanks.
Okay, superintendent report, enrollment, overall decrease of 9 students from last month. Still dropping, high school lost 4, same types of situations that we keep seeing there, so. Seeing our high school enrollment at 341 is a little bit scary, but.
It's kinda crazy that we lost almost 20 kids at the middle school, really,
Right.
since the start of the year.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we're down a lot from the beginning of the year. I mean, we're looking at 80 students from last May, so.
Yeah.
Middle school student decrease, is that mostly like homeschooled kids, or?
And there's been some families that have moved out too.
Let's see, spring activities are gonna get rolling here very soon, I believe. Track and softball baseball start Monday. So, that'll be rolling here not long. Strategic plan, graduate profiles, OPI accreditation, professional development plan. Discussed those items at the administration meeting on Tuesday, March 3rd. All of the items needed for state accreditation were submitted. Typically, they'll take a look at those. If there's any mistakes, they'll send them back. We'll have a chance to correct any of those mistakes. Unfortunately for some of them, like, we already know we can't correct them. If you have a teacher that's on a class 5, so that means they come up with a plan to finish their teaching degree. If they get out of that plan, then they're not considered highly qualified, so you take a ding for that entire school. So you go from a 4 to a 1 in that category. So it's just one of those things that we have a couple in those situations, and we try to work with them to get all that stuff done, but sometimes it doesn't happen.
So you mean if they have a class 5 and they end up not getting their teaching degree?
If they get out of a program that they commit to, yeah. And you do have some, like, they'll start and they'll just quit doing it, so. Let's see, labor management did not meet, and I did not attend the NEMAS meeting, just for the note of that. Buildings and grounds, still waiting on the particle board replacement. I talked with Mr. Klinke in January, and he thought they would get to that at the end of February. Here we are in the middle of March, so I'll have to get a hold of him again, see what we got going. High school roof, that's coming along well. Probably have the new roof project will start spring, early summer. More than likely summer. And then the admin building here. Core actually came in and finished a little bit of that. The only thing that we really have left are the thermostats in this building, and it's actually been working quite a bit better. If you ask me, some people's offices are still a little warm, but it's better than it was.
Mine's perfect. I'm not complaining.
Okay, threat assessment, and I do think we have community comment potentially on, is this what you were wanting to discuss?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we had a threat assessment conducted at the middle school on February 18th. After conducting the interviews with all the students and staff members that witnessed or were involved in the situation, it was determined that there was no credible or significant threat. They put some cautionary measures in place as they typically have to do, especially when you start to look at previous discipline for the students. So we can't really discuss what some of those are all the time, but the student did receive disciplinary measures according to the middle school handbook. There were a number of calls to the elementary schools on that. There was some stuff going around on Facebook that some parents had said that there was a legitimate threat. So some people didn't send their kids to school, which I get. The process isn't perfect, and I understand that. Basically what we've done, and they changed this, so the legislative session changed how we do these about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
So we actually brought in a training for the region. So they outline exactly how you go through those. And those are the steps that we have to follow. They've modified them a little bit, but it's actually a pretty lengthy process. It used to be a lot more of an informal investigation, just done by the principal, and then if there was a threat, then you'd send that out to everybody. The part of the other issue is protecting the rights of students and privacy can get a little bit tricky when you're starting to communicate out to the community. And I'll just leave that at that, and I'll let you kind of.
I get that part, I get it, especially in a small community, everybody knows everybody. And herein lies the problem though. Rumor's got a rumor. If you guys don't put it out there, somebody's gonna put something out there in these instances. Was it a credible threat? I don't know. Did the kid get whatever happened, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, and herein lies the problem. So the night before, now Facebook rumors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I hear a rumor about a potential threat about a school shooting, first of all, we have to agree, there's a few things in life with zero tolerance, right?
Yep.
Pedophilia, rape, school shootings, zero tolerance.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything of that nature comes up, I don't need to know the name. I don't need to know what's happening with it. But I think we need to find a way where you stop rumors before they become a thing. And the thing is, and I understand, you got to protect people, you got to protect kids, you have to give due process.
Mm-hmm.
But therein lies the problem too. If you don't nip it in the bud before end of day that day, it's going to become something. It will,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been proven, right? So we got to find something there to. We have good communication. I mean, you got communication protocols for everything else, right? So in that case, is there something where you can put it out, that public announcement that we had this incident today, there is no threat,
Right.
we're looking into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then report back, that's fine. But you have to, before the end of that day, if you guys don't put it out, somebody's gonna put it out.
Yeah, and it was kind of a unique situation in how everything ended up in the public. Like somebody posted a name, it wasn't even the right name for the student that went through the threat assessment, which is unfortunate, for
That is
that kid.
unfortunate.
In reality, so how many threat assessments have we done this year? 10, maybe 15?
Okay, but how many threats were because the word gun was involved? Like, should that maybe play a role?
It could, yeah. Sometimes it's, I have a knife, I'm gonna bring it, you know what I mean? Like, there's things.
Going to bring something, I mean, that becomes a credible threat. Is he gonna act out on it? Nobody knows. But here's the problem, it's on a national level. Every single time something bad actually happens, everybody talks about if only there was signs. Well, one time it's gonna go too far, if only there were signs. Well, there was signs.
But that's why you do a threat assessment.
Right.
Is if
But-
if somebody is told a threat, then we go through, and I guess I have never seen the actual checklist you go through. Do you feel like that's a comprehensive assessment.
It is very comprehensive.
Oh, and that part I
Yeah.
very much understand. But what I'm asking for is, if something like that comes up, and it's gone, kids or teenagers or, you know,
Right.
if you don't put the information out there, be it short and sweet as it may be, somebody's gonna come up with it.
Yeah.
Kids are gonna talk, because one of them overheard the other one, and they're gonna embellish.
Mhm.
And I guess, like I said, for me, that's one of those things that's a zero tolerance.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear it from you before I hear it through the grapevine, every time.
And it's definitely something like, and I'm not just saying this just to say it, but it's definitely something that we can look at. The problem you run into is like creating that, where is the line crossed, or where is it, you know, like that's kind of the sticky part. And I get what you're saying, people bring up guns, but that's what when you go through the threat assessment, part of it is like, you have to find out if they even have access to that. Like, that's part of it, and that can discredit some things, right? Not necessarily all of it, but that's part of what you go through. It is good in some ways also, say like you have a kid that had a threat assessment, there's nothing credible, but you have that paperwork then on that student. If it keeps happening, all of a sudden it's like, yeah, this probably could be a reality now, you know?
Right.
So I get you. I don't love the process by any means. I don't. And I do think that there's ways that we could probably look at when something hits a certain threshold, we can at least send something out saying,
First line communication.
there is no threat to any school. And if that would satisfy 100% of the parents, I would love to do that.
Because, just to let in on this again, twice, 2 phone calls that next morning, twice, to me, were told, well, you know, we didn't wanna cause an uproar, we didn't wanna cause, well, by you not putting it out there, you did cause.
Yeah.
Just the first line, if it's there, let people know, hey, we had an incident, we're looking into it, there is no threat, there was no threat, there is no threat tomorrow.
Right.
I don't wanna hear tomorrow morning, well, in light of events where it's using all absences, why is that? Well, I can't talk about it. So there's something going on, well, I can't talk about it. It's fine, I get it. But if yesterday afternoon, I got a public announcement like we all get on our phones now, there was an incident, we're looking into it, there is zero threat. That's all I'm asking. I don't need the kid's name. Unfortunately, I knew the name of this kid. I called the name before, which I did not like that.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, even when the buses don't run, if there's a storm happen or something like that, can't we get a text message saying that there was a threat, we are under, we're investigating it?
That's what we're asking for, yeah.
And then leave it up to the parents, am I sending my kid to school tomorrow or not? Am I sending my kids back to school until it's resolved? That's up to the parent. But like, we didn't know nothing about it, and then the very next day, it could have been too late. So just a simple text saying, hey, there's a threat, we're investigating it.
If there's a credible threat, we are definitely sending things out.
I think any threat, to the point where everything that's happened all over the US, any threat, if it's credible or not, you guys don't know that until it's been, you went through your process, everything was looked at. Until your homework was done, you don't know if it's credible or not. So if a threat was made, credible or not, we need to know ahead of time so we can keep our kids at home for the day or.
And I don't know if that's necessarily appropriate for every situation.
Right.
Can we define threat? I mean, are you saying
Yes.
threat, you're saying a threat, I mean, used in a very specific way, I would assume, but when we do a threat assessment, what kind of, more minor things would still trigger a threat assessment?
You have a kid that brings a pocket knife to school and shows their friend.
I mean,
But they left it in there.
And I understand you, where is the line? I get that.
Right.
A teenager wanting to touch another teenager because of whatever, I don't need to know.
but we can
It's
agree
not
that
But
if a
if there
pocket
is,
knife,
if there is a threat of, I'm going to bring something to school, I'm gonna bring a gun to school, I think that is the line.
Right.
Whether he acted out on it, whether it's purely teenage hormones, that part I don't care, but because that actually became a thing, that's where that zero tolerance on that subject comes up. If something like that comes up, I'd rather hear from you that there was something going on, there is no threat to any students, and we're looking into it. That's all I need. I don't need the details.
Right, I would say that the problem with this, and I mean, we could go round and round on it, because there's so many different circumstances, right?
Right.
That could arise. I will tell you that I think we will discuss this. We'll probably bring law enforcement in to get their input on it. Probably talk to MTSBA because of all the legal stuff, to see when it's, appropriate to send out. Cause the other problem is, right, if you wanna get into, this or this or this, well, 8 o'clock, someone's, you hear that a kid says, I brought a gun to school today. Okay. Well, if we put out the notice right then you have 150 parents that show up at 8 o'clock and create, an even bigger issue, right? Cause you just added 150.
Dude, I'd rather 3,000 parents show up than one kid ever get shot.
No, I get that, but if you create mass, pandemonium in the building by adding 150 people to it that are taking their kids out, we don't have, you don't have, accountability of the people that are there, as opposed to systems that we have in place of like, training that we've had of this is how we handle threats, this is how we handle risk. So, it's all great. There is no one, and I get what you're saying. If it happens the night before and we know it and whatever, obviously, if that happens, we mobilize law enforcement to go investigate. In that case, we probably could put something out and say, hey, there was a threat. If you choose not to bring your kid to the middle school tomorrow, that's fine.
Right.
We probably should have. It isn't as simple as just saying, the minute we hear a threat, we gotta send out a message to the parents, because there has to be a little bit of investigation going on in some of these situations. So I think we're all committed, obviously, we've had threats in the past where we did send out messages after the fact, because again, we wanted to collect the information. We felt the situation was under control. It wasn't involving specifically our school, it was near the school, but we had things under control, so we didn't wanna cause mass pandemonium that makes law enforcement's job harder by bringing people to it, or our staff or whoever
But
it
that's
is.
where you use your technology in that.
No, and I get that, but I'm just saying, like, it's easy to say, I just wanna know, but then, you send out that message and 100 parents show up and start walking through the classrooms, now you have zero control of
Right,
everything.
no, that's,
You get what I'm saying?
I do, and that's why I think we need to find the hard line.
Yeah.
Find that hard line. In my book, anyone that's threatening to gun violence, there's no question asked.
Right.
If that comes out of his mouth, I think that's $0. I do. How that pans out, if it was an actual threat, find that out later. That's where your investigation comes in.
Yeah.
But if it is so much as even a subject brought up, I think that's enough.
Right, and I can tell you that, like, we've had situations, anytime there's been a threat or whatever, they man the middle school doors, backpacks are checked as they walk through the door, we have steps in place to try to mitigate anything that happens within the school.
Right.
Or whatever, and I get it, if it is a situation that comes up the night before, we probably could communicate, but we will do our due diligence on this. Obviously, most of us have had kids that have gone through the school system or whatever, so we get the situation. It's very hard to just put a steadfast rule, because every situation is so different.
It is.
Every situation is so different that just to say, the minute we hear the word gun, we're gonna send a message to every parent with that school. That's.
I understand you're not gonna send it that minute.
Right.
That's where.
Right, a message should have been sent at some point, just like the last time that we had like an actual threat in the area of one of our schools. A message should have been sent, that's probably a miss. To be fair, that was a miss. Even though we did the threats, there was no credible threat, so that's why we didn't follow through. But yeah, obviously I've been on the board 10 years, and we were talking about school shootings, year one, and we're still talking about school shootings, and probably will forever.
And that should never be a taboo subject to
Right,
talk about. I
right.
think it should be so other kids can learn from that.
Yeah, and that, the tough part is the privacy on that.
Right?
You know, that is
But that's the thing with a small town, there's privacy in that. What privacy? No, I'm not gonna name names. I knew that kid's name before it even came up the next day.
Right, no, and.
Because of prior dealings.
Yeah, and, I mean, we've all had situations like that, it's just, it's, we have to follow the, you know, our legal guidance on what we can and cannot do. And that's what I'm telling you in this too, right, is we've gotta check with MTSBA, obviously we have a process of how we discuss the threats. We need to, you know, verify where can we legally, you know, send out information.
Right.
When can we, you know, be justified in doing that? We can fight that battle if they push back and be like, well, you know, if there really wasn't a threat, you shouldn't send it out. We can fight that.
Well, that's the part I'm asking
Yeah.
for, when it comes to that.
Yep.
99% of the time I get it's nothing. But if it is one of those absolute
Yep.
extreme things, even if it was a hollow threat, that's a threat with $0 behind it.
Yep.
But that's the one thing we're asking.
Yep. No, absolutely, and like I said, I think we're all committed. You know, we're coming up into a big year ahead of us, right? We're gonna have a new superintendent, we're gonna have a couple new board members and you know, things, and you know, bringing new people in can bring some different ideas and you know, ways to handle this too, so.
If it can be a message that eliminates any phone call the next morning, you were successful.
Yep. Yep.
That's it.
So can we go and look at the middle school handbook, I mean, in the future, and just word it different, you know, if it's like a threat to the whole student body, after the full investigation, then we let the parents know?
So, we started this process, when they came out with these threat assessments. So we met with local law enforcement to set up our safety plan. We met with all of the sheriffs, all of the, town cops. They went and toured all the buildings to check out locations that would be easiest to access. They all have master keys and fobs to be able to enter the building. We did the same with like the fire department. The fire department understands their job is to set a perimeter for law enforcement to be able to do their thing. Like we would just add this to that plan. It's a pretty comprehensive plan as well. Like it took us 6 months really to get kind of through all of it, and I feel really comfortable about that part of it. Like he said, and I mean, I agree with him, like everybody wants to be prepared, but you're never going to be 100% prepared right away when it happens. I mean, it's just, unfortunately, that's how a lot of those end up.
And backtrack through the whole due process. You have an incident in the morning. Teacher looked into it, principal's looking into it, if law enforcement got involved, so be it. The moment that some kid allegedly said something, I get that's not the time to send that mass. The moment that's under control, I think that would be a good time for it.
Yep.
Before it comes up, because it's gonna grow exponentially every single day.
Right, no, absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, we'll look through it. I can honestly say I haven't looked through the threat assessment, you know, step by step. You
It's
know,
been a couple years since
Right.
we presented that.
Yeah, you know, and so it's probably good to have a refresher. Some probably haven't even seen it ever. So, yeah, we will definitely do that. We'll try to, you know, come to some kind of conclusion on this of like, okay, you know, this, you know, we will send out, obviously we have, you know, whether it's Facebook or Instagram or
Even on Twitter.
Well, sometimes we have to, I hate doing it, sometimes you have to.
Right. And I mean, you know, I pushed years ago to create Facebook pages for all the schools because everybody lives off of Facebook. You know, no one looks at the paper anymore, so you kind of.
But this whole message system, whatever it
Yep.
goes through.
Yep.
Hey, that's super handy, I love it.
Yep.
That would be the time to do it, because you get it there, you get it in Infinite Campus, you get it in your email.
Yep.
If you're part of the system, you're gonna get
Yep.
the message. Right?
No, we'll definitely look at it.
I have one more thing to say. I totally agree about keeping lines of communication open. I have little kids in school, obviously a concern for me too, to keep them safe. But I think part of this is like, there were rumors going around that I didn't even know about, and then people were asking me in the morning, and you can't nip something in the bud when you don't know what's happening, you know what I mean?
Right.
Part of it, but also it's like, the default, should you be sending a message to everybody saying there's no information? I mean, hey, everybody, there's no info to be had, there's no threat, there was a threat assessment, it's not legitimate, or whatever, cause that's saying like, hey
Yeah,
guys,
but
don't worry.
That's where I think everybody
You
needs
know,
to find that.
But I think
that part.
also we need to remember that there is some personal responsibility, that if you hear a rumor, but there hasn't been anything communicated from the school saying that this is a legitimate threat, then we need to remember that if it is a legitimate threat, we will shout it from the mountaintops. I mean, I would trust that everybody will know. But it's just hard to say that with every threat assessment that's done, that's not found to be
But that's just
legitimate.
the most recent one.
Yeah,
Was there a kid
and I
suspended
totally
for
agree
any
that
reason?
that one,
Was there a kid suspended for any reason? Then that day, that was enough.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but do you know what I'm saying too? It's like, you can't send one out, and I don't know where the line is, but as
And
far
you
as
got
like where we would
response.
send it and where we wouldn't, but we also need to remember that if there is something credible, that everybody will know about it, and it'll be sent through all forms of technology, if it is a credible thing that people need to know. And I trust that, the administration and the principal, the building principals and stuff are going to, first of all, contain whatever that threat might be, look into it, investigate it, refer it to who it needs to be referred to. And if the community as a whole needs to be notified, I trust that my students will be safe, my little kids will be safe in school. And if they aren't, that I will know about it so that I can come get them.
See, I cannot walk across Main Street with my eyes closed like that. I cannot. I'm gonna have to look for myself.
But so what, I mean, I think that's a different conversation,
I know.
right? But I'm just saying, as far as the line of when the community to be looped in to say, there's no threat, that's a really hard thing to do.
If there is a kid threatening, gun, knife, bringing something to school, if that so much was verbalized or written down or whispered to somebody else, I think that's enough. I do. What the outcome, that's gonna take due process, but if an incident like that whatsoever happens, about threatening violence, I think make that.
But isn't that triggering a threat assessment? I mean, that would be triggering a threat assessment. Anytime anybody says that,
Right.
we're triggering a threat assessment.
But if that happens today, before end of day, please put out there was an incident, there's no danger to everybody else, that's what I'm asking for.
Yep.
I think that's fair.
Yep, no, and like I said, I think you got the commitment of the board to look into this and come up with a good, come up with a plan.
Thank you.
And make sure that we follow through on that plan, in the future, and, as we need to tweak things, we will tweak things, but, like I said, we gotta, dot our i's and cross our t's too, so we
No,
gotta check with the state and check with legal and all that stuff too, but
And
yeah.
I would always err on the side of caution that if there's something that we can communicate, to the community, even if we think it may be, you might as well just open the line of communication, right?
Yeah.
And to err on the side of, not of caution, that's not what I mean, but like, even if you're like, hey, is this worthwhile doing? Like, to me, I feel like communication is always best, so.
Yep, no,
Absolutely.
Yep, well, I think we're all on a similar page, let's put it that way. We may not be exactly where we both wanna be, but I think we're ready to move in probably the right direction.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you
absolutely.
for your input.
I think that's me.
No, that's fine, yeah, if you guys wanna leave, you're more than welcome.
you to stay.
Thanks, guys.
You guys don't want to look through the budget?
Just wanna run for school board.
Yeah.
Okay, Carl, you can't leave. You gotta stay.
Bridged Alliance actually pushed something out just this afternoon saying they were approved, so we're a go, we'll start doing open enrollment in April and May. I think the only thing that they're kind of shoring up right now is the dental and vision and some of the smaller things, we're working on that, so I think they're really close, so that's exciting. They had 16,000 members and over 200 schools, so that was great.
What was their threshold that they needed?
12,000 and 150.
Yeah, I think it was 150.
Transfers, Lisa Hyndman, Westside Special Education teacher. So instead of being full-time there, she is going to be half-time there and half-time at the middle school. That will help the middle school. Their numbers are high in terms of students and teachers are low. And then you can see resignations, Lisa Hyndman, for next year, obviously, special education teacher Ashley Rogow, middle school special ed aide Rachel Escobar, Central School Custodian, Wesley Zawani, Head Drill Coach, Justine Klempel, Central School Special Ed Teacher, and Tricia Swiss, Central School Special Education Aide. Those resignation letters are on pages 12 through 17. Recruiting time. Okay. Consent agenda items.
Yep, let's go.
Meeting minutes on page 18 from February 9th.
I have a couple of changes.
Okay, go ahead.
I have Ms. Johnson on here for a report, so it should be Ms. Huffman. Yeah, and I spelled labor wrong in labor management.
Okay, okay, good catch. Okay, financials, you have your county investment report on 22.
You also put, Mrs. Sites. I'm sure David.
Did I? Well, we'll just leave that.
Page 23 is the budgeted
It's on
funds
21 on the far left.
report expenditures. 21.
It's up at the calendar committee. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay.
24 is the budgeted funds report revenue. So that's what we have, well, the percentage that we've collected for each of those items. Cash balances for February. Page 26 is general fund revenue received versus anticipated. Tricky ones on those sometimes are your taxes. And then 2-month comparison through February of 26. Or it should be two-year comparison. Anyway, you can see the difference between those from 24, 25, and 25, 26. Okay, page 28 is a check register. Kind of looked through this. It's a lot of the same monthly bills that we end up with. There was one where it looked like Corlin came in. I don't remember what that one was, sort of 6,600, but. Page 30 is the fund summary for the claim check register. And then we did have a couple of checks to void on page 31. We do not have the routing numbers included with those. We had in the past. 32, ASB accounts. And statement of activity by account name, so that would be page 35 with more ASB account information. Page 37, these are the contract renewals for 4th-year teachers, so they will gain tenured status after they receive this contract. Page 38 are the non-tenured contracts that will be going out. And page 39 are the contract renewals for some of the tenured teachers that we missed at the last one. I've included Colin Gardner on that list. For some reason he was not listed on that. That one is not on your sheet. All right, questions before I read through the consent agenda?
The 4th-year teachers, if we renew their contract, they're automatically tenured.
Then you're tenured, yep. Next year's the first year of tenure. Okay, minutes, all recorded board meeting minutes must be reviewed and approved at the following board meeting. As you review the meeting minutes, please make note of any additions or changes that need to be made. Recommend to approve the board meeting minutes for the board meeting on February 9th, 2026 with any noted and necessary agreed upon changes which we have made. Warrants and claims in accordance with board policy 7326, all financial obligations and disbursements must be properly documented. The documentation must specifically describe the goods, services acquired, and proper budget item for appropriation. Recommend to approve all claims, payments, and cancellations as presented. ASB accounts and transfers in accordance with board policy 7425. The Board of Trustees shall conduct a monthly review of the ASB account balances reported by the Deputy Fund Custodian. Recommend to approve ASB balances, transfers, payments, and voided checks as presented. Renewal of non-tenured 4th-year contracts and tenured contracts that we missed. Non-tenured certified contract renewals are presented for consideration for the 26-27 school year. An exhibit is attached above listing non-tenured teachers and tenured teachers. recommended for contract renewal. Only the contracts presented are eligible for approval at this time. I recommend to approve the 26-27 certified non-tenure and tenure contracts as presented. New hires, Caitlin Metrick, middle school special education aide, approve the employment of the recommended hire for the 25-26 school year pending reference and background. The consent agenda.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, discussion agenda, so, starting on page 41, this is gonna be your preliminary budget data sheet for, the 26-27 school year. Do you wanna go through any of this, Tracy, or do you? Basically what this is, it's a breakdown of where the money comes from and where it's gone, and where it goes. So, you can see like when you get down to like your, obviously the direct state aid, quality educators in there, so that would actually be part of the STARS Act. So when you see like on number 3, that's for just the elementary side, but that's not all of what we got because of the STARS Act. Like that is including what we used to get as well. So that's why that number's a little bit, it looks more inflated than it actually is.
They doubled it from what it was before.
I still wanna get together, you too,
Yeah.
to get together with you now that we're back from vacation.
Yeah.
So these are like, basically, we're taking the numbers and like, even like your taxable valuation, it's all from 2025. So this is kind of a guess, and then you'll get back together and approve the final budget in August.
So it did change with the GPB, guaranteed tax base. It used to be per district, but now it's countywide. So, and I don't know how that works.
That was very confusing right now.
Cause it used to be a certain amount that we would get, but now it's an amount that the county gets that's split through all the districts.
Who decides how it's split?
I don't know. And I don't know how, I looked up laws, Nikki and I worked on it, tried to figure it out, and we can't figure it out. I'm sure they'll talk to us about it at the MASBO in June. I hope so, because it's totally different.
And it messes again with like your taxable valuation if you're doing it that way. So, we'll get more information on that, but again, like these are just preliminary budgets. The big numbers that I look at are like your maximum, like your highest budget with a vote, like on F-142. Those are important, especially when you start looking at how we've typically gotten there with oil and gas money. That may be challenging next year. Granted, I mean, I get oil went back up, but that, you're not gonna see that for another 3 quarters. So, and it's hard to say how long it stays. So, that's the kind of stuff though you really wanna look at. So that would be for the elementary, the maximum budget there.
Highest
Going to-
budget with a vote, meaning you're polling the county, right?
Right.
Vote, okay. Just
Yeah.
checking.
And then you've got the high school starting on 44. I looked at, the highest for that was the 3,989,000. So as we're looking at this, especially the elementary side, things are gonna be tight, but I don't think you're gonna have to run a mill levy this spring. If oil and gas stays where it's at, I would about guarantee next year you'll be running a mill levy. To try to get to your maximum budget. So these are clear as mud.
Yeah. These ones we have to vote on.
Always. Hey, if you've called in, can you please mute your phone? Thank you. Or not.
Okay, so, we have to vote on the resolution of intent to impose an increase in levies. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna run a mill levy, but this would give us the ability to do so. So, Senate Bill 307 of the 2017 legislative session provided for the addition of non-voted levy authority in specific instances for certain district operations now allowed in the Building Reserve Fund. Part of this bill requires a public notice to local taxpayers providing information on anticipated estimated revenues and increases in permissive levies in the following funds: tuition fund, adult ed fund, building reserve fund, transportation fund, and bus depreciation fund. As per Senate Bill 307 and pursuant to District Policy 1014 FE, the trustees must adopt and publish this resolution no later than March 31st. Sidney Public School Board elects to provide this information on all funds that may have a levy in 2026. Figures presented are estimated only based on 25 certified taxable valuations, do not reflect the 26 taxable rates. Ending cash fund balances or other revenue reappropriation. Recommend to approve the resolution for District 5 and 1 stating the district's intent to impose, increase, or decrease permissive levies in the general fund, adult ed tuition, bus depreciation, transportation, debt service, and building reserve.
I think we have to do these separate, I believe.
Do we?
Well, usually.
Oh, District 1 and District 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So all of that for District 5?
Yeah, so I have a motion to approve the resolution for District 5.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
And then the same recommendation to approve the resolution for District
I have a motion to resolution for District 1.
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, quick election update. So we did not have any candidates that wanted to run on the ballot. We didn't have any write-in candidates. So actually the day of the deadline for the write-in candidates, there was somebody interested. They didn't get their stuff in time. So basically where we're at is you're at the point where we have to appoint them. We have 2 people that have expressed interest in that. You'll appoint them at the May meeting. However, if we have more than 2 people interested, we're probably gonna wanna do some kind of
We'll do
interview, just to see like if their values fit the needs of the community, fit the needs of, or the strategic plan of the school, different things like that. If we don't have any more than the 2 that we have, I still wanna look and see where our enrollment's sitting, if we still need 8 members, or if we can run with 7, but
What's the cutoff?
I need to check with.
I think it's our population.
It's
It is,
the
yeah.
whole population.
Right.
of
Because
the
we
county.
went over 6,000, so we had to add 2 members. That's
Yeah, and
why-
I'm curious to see, I mean, just because enrollment drops doesn't necessarily mean that the population's dropping.
Right, yeah.
But anyway, that's where we're at as far as those go. We'll keep you updated on if we have any more interested individuals. I still don't think it would hurt to at least have them come in for like a little question answer thing. It doesn't have to be a formal interview, but something just to get an idea of where they're at.
Yeah, no,
I
I
was gonna
agree.
put an ad in the roundup
Yep,
for,
yeah. Yeah, if you got anybody, if you know anybody.
I've actually, 2 people have talked to me too.
I have one person that I already sent a letter, one person asked about it, but I haven't received any.
And we can push that till June or something too.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, when did they appoint John? Didn't they have to appoint Marker?
No, him and Alex came in, they were the first 2 that were when we added 2 people to the board.
Oh, I thought he was appointed and then he ran again and
No,
won.
just Randy was the only one we've appointed. Yeah, Randy's the only one, and I think we had 4 people interested for 1 spot that time. Yeah, no, John came in because him and Alex got added to my election year.
Okay.
So yeah, but yeah, we'll probably, if we get more than 2, well, even if we get 2, we'll probably just pick a night in June or something to do it, because we've already pushed back the reorganization till
Oh, that's right.
after graduation anyways.
Right.
Well, I was glad we didn't get 3 write-ins, because I don't know how you do a mail ballot with write-ins, because you can't put a name anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You'd have to
You'd
go
have
to
to
mail.
tell through advertising.
we can't advertise it though.
Well, but I mean, you'd have to, for them. They would
Yeah.
have to be-
Yeah, they would have to go
Yeah.
out and figure
The
something out.
county was kinda confused about that too, so.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, we'll hurdle that
Yeah,
coming up. I say we give them till May to figure it out, and then we can probably just, you know, do something in June real quick.
yep.
Um,
Well, we can just do the reorganization, the special meeting, too, and just hold one meeting in June towards the end, so we have time to get handbooks and everything done.
yeah, yeah, we'll figure that out.
Okay.
Do we have to vote to table with this, or
No.
we just go?
Honestly, with the land transfer request, I was kind of a hardcore no at first, and then as I started thinking about the financial part of it, probably gonna be easier just to allow the request and take, that hit. The only thing about it is that will change once those kids get out of elementary and into the high school.
Right.
Cause they wouldn't be transferring status from.
Right, yeah, it's one of those things that we save money over the next 5, 8 years, you know, 10 years, whatever.
But that could add up a lot if you're only getting 1,200 back.
Right.
And you ended up with a $90,000 bill.
Well, yeah, 10 years ago, who knows what the
Right.
county, the districts look like.
Right.
You know, with things going the way they are, we could very easily just be Richland County schools at that point, so.
Right. Okay,
So optimistic of you.
I just like to be realistic.
Yeah.
entrepreneur class request, I normally just make decisions on these, but I wanted to have Mr. Barnhart talk about this one a little bit.
And I'll give you a little background on, first of all, 4 years ago, we wrote a grant for the Montana Advanced Opportunities. We're currently running our CDL class with that grant. We're running some nursing classes with that grant. We're looking to expand to other areas. And one of the opportunities that was presented to us this year was to start a student gear store through the business department, through the entrepreneurship class. And they would manufacture, produce the gear, but it would be set up as a business. They would be the managers, they would be in charge of the inventory, they would do all of that as part of the class, as well as the production of the Sidney Eagle gear that they would be selling. And then the sales would take place during school activities, football, basketball, other activities that we have going on throughout the district. Normally, we don't ask for approval from the board, but I contacted my grant person at the Office of Public Instruction. Usually when we're asking for money out of the grant, it's only about $7,000, maybe $5,000 in that range. This time we're looking at close to $30,000. And so I wanted to present it to the board, have you guys approve that we use the grant money to do that. And one other thing we can look at this, and I have not visited with the high school yet on this, but if they're looking at setting this up as a business simulation, we could also include this as a loan to the students, and as part of their business, they would have to repay that loan as you would in a regular business as well, and just take that money that they make and put it into an account until they've got enough to pay off with the loan, what we loan them. They wouldn't have to reimburse the grant. It would just go into a fund for them to use through student council, but just make that as an expense part of the business as well. So the recommendation or the request from the high school was for a DTF 24H2 printer. That's $19,995. An embroidery machine that is $5,999. A 3D printer for $3,199. The software for the 3D printer, which is $24. And then a double rolling clothes rack, which is $150. I would probably recommend getting 2 of those because you get them in one rack isn't as big as you thought it was going to be, so I'd probably recommend 2. So your total amount is going to approximately be $29,517. I have the money in the grant to cover it. That's not going to be an issue. But I just want board approval because OPI suggested that we do that, so. Carl, have anything you want to add?
No, just, I guess the only thing is we're looking at trying to fill kind of a void in the community. Screenplay is, as you guys have maybe seen, is no longer in business. The goal of this class is also going to include like covering tournaments for tournament t-shirts and sweatshirts and things like that that have traditionally been handled through them. The businesses in town, I guess I can't speak for Sonda's solutions as well, but they haven't shown interest in competing in there with how that works. And it's just something that you see kind of go away with all the council bought a press, it's been 3 or 4 years ago, we purchased another one, because it just wasn't feasible to do some of the things that helped within the community and the school culture, like homecoming shirts. If you guys have kids in school, every kid, the last 2 years has gotten a homecoming shirt. The first year we did it, we had to get almost $10,000 in donations to have somebody else print them. We were able to cut costs and do it ourselves. It's a lot of work, for the groups that took it on. But this would be one of those other things that, that would aid in that. We spend a lot of money within our sports groupings, utilizing outside sources, for example, BSN Sports, that type of thing. This would bring it in-house. To touch base on a couple of those, so we do have a hat press, so we can press patches onto hats. Currently, we already own that one. We have 2 t-shirt presses ready to go. The embroidery machine gives us a few other options. The 3D printer is a multi-filament printer that we can actually print pictures, so like, and it gives them a 3D appearance in color. So like, take a kid jumping over a hurdle for a yearbook picture, their parents can actually get that and turn it into something like a keepsake, those types of things, and we can do that. Bobbleheads, right? Just different things, keychains, add some variation that maybe we don't have on hand that people would be interested in. And then the printer itself is gonna allow us to do different things. So instead of ordering the same screen for everybody, so every kid's got the same shirt, and we hear that from parents all the time when we offer different things. Like, I don't want the same thing that parent has or that everybody's wearing, right? I want something different, and I want it to have glitter, right? Right? This printer can handle all of those things, right? And is kind of a cool addition. So, we're in the early stages. If we get that approval, we'll kind of do a run through from the bottom up. We're gonna combine some classes. We have a leadership class right now, that is maybe weeny in numbers a little bit. It doesn't really have a direction. This gives it a little bit more of a direction of, these are kids that are looking for opportunities to, kind of stand out. There's gonna be an outside component that's gonna do some comp time. They're gonna work the store, they're gonna work the storefront. Kind of the grand plan is like, they're gonna come in and they're gonna be, they're gonna be baseline employees. Like, they're gonna get onboarded, and then they're gonna transition through the rankings of, okay, now I do storefront, inventory, and requests. There's gonna be kind of a back end in terms of who's managing that, and eventually that gets handed over, and everyone's gonna take a responsibility role within that until they're ordering and getting ready for the next year. And then it's gonna be this, next year we're gonna have all this product ready to go, we're gonna hit the ground running. We're gonna be open, similar to like concessions, at events. It's not gonna probably be every event, but it's gonna be there, and we're gonna have, the ability to do online orders so that those things can then be made potentially within the next week and have a good turnaround, because those kids are gonna be meeting every day. So, kind of a big undertaking, kind of what the state in terms of the CTE area is looking at, like real world, ready to go experience. We've had these programs before in the high school. The student bank, existed for a long time, was one of those situations. And it's just, you don't get the opportunity to handle kind of the back end, of a project like this, and we're pretty fortunate to be there, so.
We're gonna set up like class credit for this.
Yeah. What do you?
So like, this is
Yep,
just like
okay.
a class they're in, and
Yep, they'll get a CC credit.
Okay.
And then there'll be a, right now, there probably won't be a prerequisite, that requires them to be in it, but in the future, Mr. Minnick, and Ms. Garjo, it sounds like they're gonna co-teach it, and kind of handle that front, and figure out if we need to have, if we can create like a baseline going into it, that they have to take accounting or something like that before they get into it, or maybe it's a prereq for the business pathway. It gives us a pathway within, which we don't have right now as well, at the state level, which is a big nod. You have to have so many CTE pathways. We have different areas in the CTE department where we have old teachers, who are veteran teachers, I shouldn't say old teachers. Veteran teachers who are getting close to that retirement, and we have to look at ways to make sure that we're ready to handle that, because we have, as a Class A school and a level that we have to meet those requirements, otherwise we're not in accreditation. So, we're kind of jumping on that board as well, and making sure that we're not gonna just be at total loss here if we end up in that situation.
Sounds awesome.
Don't tell anybody I called them old, please.
it's on video.
I know it is.
We're gonna cut the foot.
No one's got the time.
Will you stuff, like other businesses around town or other schools?
So, in terms of adding stuff,
Well, I don't know, like what if Lambert needs something done?
Well, if you run Class C
Probably.
tournaments,
Yeah,
then
you know.
you'll need.
Class C tournament stuff, I mean, that's all based off of the state has all of those, you have to,
Oh.
we gotta get in cahoots with MHSA,
Oh,
because you have to have those, but I'm sure if it's ran as a business and they can make money and they're slow, I don't know why we
Need
wouldn't take
some,
on,
travel,
on some of
travel
those stuff.
team
Travel
warm-ups,
team.
I think,
Yeah,
don't you think?
yeah, where do you think all those get printed at?
Yeah, exactly. Well, now I know.
Couple printers.
Yeah.
It's called Mr. Gunnison Sweatshop.
He does great work.
That's on video too.
It's me.
So really, the way that it's presented is kind of odd. It's like option 1 with everything after option 2, or option 2 with everything after option 2. I would recommend going with option 1. We have the-
I would recommend the first printer as well, just because I have the funding in the grant to cover.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve using the grant money to pay for option 1 for the entrepreneur class business?
I'll move.
Do I have a second? Second. Moved and second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, anybody have anything else before we go to executive session? What is it?
The superintendent interview date, we'll do that now or before?
We'll do it.
Okay.
All of us have to stay here that need to discuss that. Okay. Anyone have anything? Okay. The next matter to come before the board is a personal matter, and I have determined as follows, that the matter of the individual's privacy is involved, that such privacy demands protection of the individual, and otherwise little, if anything, can be gained by publicly disclosing the information to be discussed, and the demand for individual privacy clearly outweighs the demand for public disclosure, therefore I'm calling an executive session.
I gotta print 2 things for you too.
Okay. I don't have my badge.
We're just gonna go in here.
I'll give you a picture.
Yeah, thank you.
I wouldn't bring it in if you take notes yet.
Thanks.
Thanks for the heads up.
Yep, I learned the hard
From
way.
the old board.
Yeah, I learned the hard way on my first one. I'm taking notes and then like, hey, you can't have those. My bad.